The pandemic changed a lot. In our private lives, suddenly baking bread was the new hot thing to do. To get outside, we were buying more masks than Mortal Kombat cosplayers, and all this while trying to preserve a safe personal distance equal to 3 corgis or a singular pony, as the Berlin transport company informed us all. But our office life also had to adjust. From a total lockdown and fully remote work, it looks like we are slowly transitioned into a hybrid model. According to Placer AI, visits to major metropolitan office buildings in February 2023 were 42% lower than the same period in 2020. And that trend seems to be stable. Office visits peaked from Tuesday to Thursday, leaving the rest of the week for virtual collaboration. When so much of your work is done in front of the camera, it is high time to think hard about your virtual presence, especially your background, something that is relatively easy to change, that massively influences how people see you, or at least how reliable and competent you are. It's human nature to absorb not just the content of the message, but also its context. For good and bad, this includes biases, emotional and bodily responses, making every moment of our existence a truly subjective, context-infused experience. Studies show that low-priced wine tastes better if we think it is expensive. The food tastes better when it is accompanied by pleasant music. We even judge people as having a warmer personality if we hold a hot cup of coffee while doing so. In professional setting, those contextual clues are crucial. Consider the wall of diplomas in the lawyer's office. It is not just for show, but to convey professionalism. Similarly, our Zoom backgrounds serve as our virtual walls, influencing how we are judged. We all have our little offices now, so it's up to us how we want to make that wall shine. The study I wanted to talk about today focused exactly on that virtual shine. The authors of the experiment wanted to check how the virtual background is affecting our first impression of trustworthiness and competence. On top of that, they've prepared 36 smiling and neutral faces depicting both sexes, so that the results could also shed some light on the potential facial expression and female versus male differences. Those magnificent floating heads were mixed with 6 diverse backgrounds. Plants, with a shelf containing a green houseplant. Bookcase, a backdrop of many books sitting in a bookcase. Home, the everyday look of a personal living space. My personal pick for Zoom, since my background is showing my kitchen. Personal pick, I mean until I read the results. Blurred home, a standard home setting with added blur effect. Blank, a plain, distraction-free backdrop. And novelty, a unique and unconventional setting. In this case, a photo of a walrus with an expression, "Who? Me?" Faces were randomized like there is no tomorrow, and then showed to participants, for them to evaluate perceived trustworthiness and competence. And seeing the results, I think I made a grave mistakes with this utter bullshit behind me. Let's start with the trustworthiness. Apparently, my personal Zoom background, home setting, statistically significantly sucked. Along with the novelty background, it causes the faces to be perceived as being significantly less trustworthy than those with backgrounds of plants, bookcase, blurred home, and blank. I can blur my kitchen and I should be fine, so that's an easy fix. All those strange looks judging me for being disloyal and treacherous should be gone in no time, especially if I start smiling. For facial expressions, happy faces were perceived as significantly more trustworthy than neutral faces. The third results, focus on the sex of the face, revealed that female faces were rated as significantly more trustworthy than males. But what is more interesting, for the female faces, the home background was no longer found to be significantly less trustworthy than the top 2 backgrounds of plants and bookcase. This overall effect therefore appears to be driven by the male faces in a home background. So we are specifically judging men sitting at home as dishonest, fickle, shady, untrue, uncertain, disgraceful, weak, pathetic? Could be. And more about this later on. But what about the competence? As you may predict it, since you are a smart cookie, the most competent background was the bookcase. Analysis showed that bookcase, plants, and blank led to people being judged as significantly more competent than home, blurred home, and novelty. While my kitchen will not provide me with competence, I can remain my smile, because happy faces were significantly more competent than neutral faces. And similarly to the trust score, female faces were perceived as significantly more competent than male faces. This result was a surprise, since the authors, based on the literature of gender stereotypes, assumed that male faces are going to be judged as more competent, leaving the trustworthiness prize to women. In general, from the results, it looks like the whole Zoom background thing is the main problem to men. Men should be the most aware of their virtual background because of the stability of the video background effect. For females, video background is less important because while feminine advantages in both dimensions, trust and competence, can counteract the negative implications induced by backgrounds. Basically, it looks like women can walrus their way into any board meeting and suddenly everyone wants to walrus like it's casual Walrus Monday. To some extent, I mean. The novelty background was still evaluated negatively, same as the home setting. Authors are suggesting some possible explanations for that. For the walrus case, you may think that a novelty background might convey a light-hearted and humorous personality, but researchers suggest that it could be perceived also as a sign of hiding one's personal environment, potentially inducing perceptions of secrecy and dishonesty. Not to mention that a person using novelty background in a professional context is not taking the setting seriously. Home setting is more serious, and you could think that displaying one's actual room in a video conference will increase perceptions of trust and authenticity. Researchers wrote that in this particular study, the home background may have been perceived as too casual and indicative of a relaxed attitude. So after this emotional roller coaster, my kitchen could still be relatively fine. The authors do provide some recommendations. The study implies a recommendation for a background with a bookcase or house plants. Novelty virtual backgrounds and showing your full living space should be avoided. Males, in particular, should be aware of their backgrounds. Individuals are also recommended to smile to elicit the best first impressions of trustworthiness and competence and negate the negative effects of background, particularly for those who have no choice but to have their own home in view. I would love to see another experiment and more realistic backgrounds, but still, some work needs to be done with this madness behind me. I need to spruce up my kitchen with some plants and books, I guess. Is it better? Am I smart and wonderful now? So, next time you log into a Zoom call, remember, your background is more than just decor. It's part of your virtual handshake. Is it going to be firm, showing serious business, or will it be perceived as a walrus sloppy high five, destroying your chances for a good first impression? Before running to set up your virtual office though, please remember that there is a context within the context. A bookcase will probably not work great if it is a wallpaper, or your book collection is only made from How to Win Arguments by Shouting Louder, 101 Ways to Escape Meetings Unnoticed, or Third Friends Forever, Taxidermy for Beginners. Or just keep your walrus and focus on the second impression to win your coworkers over. Or the third. Fourth? Thank you for watching. Like this video if you found it interesting and subscribe for more content about modern humans clashing with modern technology. See you in the next one. Bye.